hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV show. I hope everyone is having a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. Well, we're here in Chicago, right outside of Chicago, and I don't know where everybody is, but we woke up this morning and it was a sheet of ice on the driveway, on the porch, on those sidewalks, in the streets, everywhere. So what did I do? I stayed inside because I did not want to go out there, slip, and fall. So if you are where there was an ice storm or one is coming, be very careful because we've been seeing on the news the different crashes, and we saw a video. It was funny, but it was not funny. Of a woman that parked her car and turned it off, and it just slid down the driveway. So anyway, that's that. I don't want to do a lot of talking this time, and because I want to bring on my special guest, and he is definitely a special guest. Is someone you should meet, someone you should know. So let me tell you about him. His name is Howard Brown. And before I get into his bio, he is an inspiration to me. And I know he'll be an inspiration to all of you out there. Howard is a man who embodies the spirit of resilience and determination. He has a memoir and it's called Shining Brightly. And that's where he talks about his journey of overcoming stage 4 cancer, not once, but twice. And he has faced one of life's greatest challenges head on, and he's come out of it with a new sense of purpose and an unwavering entrepreneurial spirit. Can you imagine with all of that? He is pushing for, and he is an entrepreneur. So, in a world where it's all too easy to feel overwhelmed by the hardships of life, his story is a beacon of hope. And his story again shows us about resilience and determination, and they are the keys to success. So what I want to do right now is bring Howard. Hello, Howard.
Hey, Dr. Jan, I'm so glad to be here this evening, morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. And outside of the suburbs of Detroit, I stayed in too. Icy, slidey, no bother today. We had an indoor day, as we say, and the kids were home from school, so everybody had an indoor day.
Well, you know what? Chicago will not close a school if it's 10 inches of snow and 23 degrees below zero. They will not close the schools. So, I wondered today about the teachers going to school and about the kids, but what we do. Look, perseverance, okay, perseverance and resilience. Hello, Jacqueline Rogers. Very nice to see you. And hello, Renita. Very nice. I'm very happy that you all are here today because we really want to get into Howard's journey. So, Howard, you know, it's just amazing to me. It really is. Your story is so amazing. And so I want you to tell us your journey. But first of all, I know you have two cancer journeys. So when did you have the first one? Number one, how did you know? How did you find out? And what
Sure.
cancer was it? If it's
So before I do that, Dr. Jan, I actually have a third cancer journey. I got diagnosed on October 25th with acute myeloid leukemia. And I'm going to tie it all together, but 3 stage 4 cancers in one lifetime. So the first one, okay, was when I was 23 years old. Um, I was very ambitious, and I went to an entrepreneurial college called Babson College outside of Boston. It's the number one school for entrepreneurship in the world, and it's such a great place because you think outside the box, you think in the box, and you're all about team building and teamwork. Because as I say, that life, business, health, family, they're team sports, and that's not meant to go forward solo. Anyhow, I'm 23 years old. I'm driving to a promotion in Ohio, leaving Boston, and I notice something on my cheekbone. And I call on a payphone. This is 1989, and I call my mom and I said, I saw something. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a cyst. Maybe it's a pimple. Anyways, I get to Dayton, Ohio. I start my job. This little mark keeps getting bigger. And remember, this is all landlines. There's no take a picture of it and show my mom. I'm describing it to her. Well, she came out to visit 2 weeks later to set up my apartment because that's what moms do. They buy you sheets, they buy you dishes, right? And they get you set up. But this mark on my cheek was getting even larger, and I wore glasses. So my glasses were being set off to the side. It just so happened a week later that I actually was speaking at the American Bankers Association about disaster recovery systems in Boston. So I flew home at 2 days early because I was speaking on a Monday. And I flew in on a Friday night, had dinner with my parents, and they saw this bump on my cheekbone that was basically as big as a marble and maybe even a little larger. So my dad, who usually go play sports or jogging or something on Saturday morning, then go have breakfast, just the boys, he took me to a community hospital, and they said it was nothing. Take some, antibiotic, you'll be fine. Well, it was not nothing. So we went back to that community hospital and they took a biopsy. And then I got on a plane and I went on with my business traveling until I got called back a week later. And my parents were just in freak out mode. What is this? What can what do we, it's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. It's now, could be a little bit less than a golf ball. So I come back, I go to the same community hospital and I met with 7 doctors. 7. And they didn't tell me what I had, but they did say this. This is in the morning. So they go, at 2 p.m., you and your parents need to be at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And it went right over my head. I was like, okay, I'll go there. I didn't hear the word cancer. I get to Dana-Farber, and they put me through some tests. And my first real decision was, where do I sit? Because there was a bunch of old people. I'm 23. There's a bunch of little kids at the Jimmy Fund. And I sat with the little kids because I didn't know where I had a place. Young onset cancers weren't even discussed. Young people don't get cancer. Well, I did. Anyhow, long story short, I go back to this doctor. He invented chemotherapy for lymphomas, and this young doctor. And my parents are in there. I'm in an Armani suit. I'm ready to jump on a plane. I got work to do. And he said, Howard, you have stage 4 T-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and you're a young man, and we're going to knock it out. And then I didn't hear anything else. I heard Charlie Brown, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, wah, wah. And I looked up at this young guy, Eric Rubin, maybe 8 to 10 years older than me. We found out it's 8. And I said, what is he talking about? I feel fine. Let's just surgically take out this little golf ball and we'll move on. And that wasn't the case. I had a blood cancer, lymphoma of my full, lymphatic system, and it's a blood cancer. It's the cousin to leukemia. And my life came to a screeching halt at age 23 and a half. And they basically gave me more tests, and I started chemotherapy. But I had no idea what chemotherapy and infusions were. I was a deer in the headlights. My dad that evening brought home a book on cancer that was at least 20 years old. And we asked my sister, I have a twin. That's important later. But she came to dinner. We cried. We didn't know what was going on. We had to learn it on the go. So 2 days later, I get to the Dana-Farber in Boston. And if I use my Boston accent, we call it Dana-Farber. And I basically went to get ready. They called me forth. And he says, we're not doing chemo today. I said, I couldn't sleep last night. What are you talking about? We got to kill this cancer. I got things to do. And he said, your liver function is not safe, but we're going to go on a field trip. I said, what is this, like third grade? Where are you going on a field trip? And he said, what else are you going to do today? He goes, I'm going to send you down the street to Newton Wellesley Hospital Cryogenic Center. I said, cryo what? What's that? He goes, I want you to make a donation. You're young. You're going to make it through this. And you might want to have a family someday. Now, if that isn't a God vision, I don't know what else, because I have no idea. There's still doctors out there today that don't talk about fertility with young people. Yeah. Okay. But he did. And you know what? I went there. I left a sample. Okay. And I forgot about it. I forgot about it because I was busy fighting for my life. I was failing chemotherapies. I was getting worse. Okay. And they told me to get my affairs in order at 23, and I turned 24 years old. The best news was that February that my twin sister, CJ Brown Gingras, was an exact what's called HLA match.
Okay.
But they had to get me into some sort of remission, and they were pounding me with chemotherapy. And I was doing so many blood transfusions. Thank God for the people that give blood and platelets, because we're short now because of the hurricanes and the fires in LA. So please, if you will, and you want to, and do a real act of kindness, go give blood at your local hospital, church, or wherever there's a blood drive. So roll the clock forward to May. I go in and get blasted with chemotherapy and full body radiation. Not that I didn't get blasted already, but they had to bring my immune system down to what's called 0 or nadir. And then my sister did surgery, and they extracted bone marrow from her. And then they came in and gave me an infusion in a little purple bag. And that purple bag is my bag of life. And they infuse it in me, and they wait and see if it gives you graft versus host disease, if your body can handle it or reject it, and they watch your immune system grow. I'm in isolation. You have to gown up, wash up, wear a mask. All I see is people's eyes, and I am in my own little prison for 34 days until my immune system was building, and it built back up. And I got out of the hospital, 34 days in isolation, chemo isolation. And then I got out of the hospital a few days later. Then they started me on a clinical trial to build up my immune system and strengthen my natural killer cells. Arm 1, patient 4 of interleukin-2, the grandfather of all immunotherapies, in 1990. And I wore a little pouch for 6 months and got an oil change every Tuesday. For my nurses, I love my nurses. Shout out to the angels on this earth, all your nurses. They talk to you and handle your care. The doctors, they move on. They talk to you for 15 minutes. So we shout out to them. So that's cancer number 1. In December, I was now put on what's called maintenance scanning every quarter for the next 3 years, wherever I was to be. And then it turned to twice a year. And then in year 5, it was once a year. And then I achieved remission, okay, in 1995. But I got my life back. It's a miracle, because my sister was a 1 in 25,000 chance of being a match at that time in 1990. And again, no cell phones, not really computer use just yet. And in 1990, there wasn't no internet yet. So it was an analog day with a busy signal and a landline, okay? And I had to learn and become a smarter patient. But I was still a deer in the headlights. So that's cancer one. Okay. But I got my life back. I got what so few do is I got to live, and I got to really think about what I had just been through. And I call myself, and maybe it's the wrong thing, but in my book, Humpty Dumpty, but I had to put myself back together again, emotionally, physically, financially, in my career, and in relationship.
And how so you had to put yourself back together. How did you do it?
So I was 136 pounds and bald, and I moved to Los Angeles. My company had to give me a job. I didn't want to be in the cold, so they offered me Atlanta or LA. LA was network products, and I thought the future, and I wanted the beach, and I want to play basketball outside. And so
Okay.
that's what I did. And so emotionally, okay, I had to transfer and manifest being back into life. I had to not be a patient. I had to figure out, okay, how to do that. And you do that with mental toughness, and you do that with compassion and grace and empathy for myself and others. And I worked at it. But you know what? I couldn't work a full day at first. I had to build up my resilience, my resistance, okay, and my stamina. And then I had to get to the gym, the basketball court, bike and walk on the beach and hike and explore my new West Coast where I knew very few people. Okay. And I had to interact again in the workforce, socially. Okay. And figure out, okay, how I'm going to grow from 136 pounds and bald and bring the new Howard Brown, who was really the old Howard Brown, back. Okay. And I did. I worked hard at that. I worked really hard at it. And I built myself back up. And good things started to happen. Really good things started to happen. My career got back on track. I got back from 136 to 185 pounds in great shape, right? My head was clear as to what I needed to do. I added community service. I met my wife through the Jewish Federation. I became a big brother mentor. I started to really live my life. And it was amazing. And I was grateful. I was grateful. But I started to make some mistakes because old habits are hard to break.
Okay.
Workaholic, right? Partying a little too much, right? Not staying in balance.
Okay.
So I'm human. I'm human. I'm human. It just happens, right? But the great thing is that I was married and I was doing a lot of the right things and some of the wrong things because I'm human, but a lot of right things. And I moved up to San Francisco from LA. This is 97. And my wife and I wanted to work in Silicon Valley. I'm an entrepreneur in technology. I got to go to the mothership, right? So I was always in sales and marketing and business development, but I understood technology. I could talk technology. So I moved up there in 97 and away from the beaches of LA. And my wife at first didn't want to go, but then she embraced San Francisco and the wine country and Monterey. And we embraced that. And we lived near Palo Alto and we liked it. And I started to see some more career success.
Okay.
And I started to do well. And my wife hit me an article. She said, "You're working too much. If families that, stick together, eat together, you have balance and you're out of balance." And she really, straightened me out a little bit. And we called for the sperm. Remember that at the Cryogenic Center?
Right.
Yeah, that was in 1990. So in the summer of 2001, we called for that sperm, not knowing if it would work. And we did in vitro fertilization, which is really expensive at that time. And my wife had 8 eggs. They took the best 4, put them back in, injected my frozen sperm, the best swimmers, into her eggs. And we got a beautiful miracle daughter named Emily. And in my book, I call her my miracle child, my frozen kidsicle, because she was a blessing, a healthy baby girl. A healthy baby girl from that God vision back in 1990.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Another blessing, right? So,
Right.
but also having a child allowed me to slow down. So I made changes. I made changes, but we were doing community service. That was really our calling. And then my sister called, my twin. She said, I'm moving to Michigan. Now, this is now rolling the clock forward to 2005. And she calls me and says, I'm moving to Michigan. She has 3 children, an older daughter that was 6 and 2 twins, girl boy twins. Well, we're girl boy twins, right? So she has
Okay.
3. Her husband's going to be working in the liquor business in Michigan as the state director. I look at my wife, who's from Michigan. I said, we got to bring the band back together. I want our daughter to know her cousins, grandparents, and it's easier for my parents in Boston to come visit. Yes,
Okay.
we're leaving San Francisco, but it's expensive out there. And we loved it out there. And we had dear friends out there. But for the sake of family, we moved to the suburbs of Michigan in 2005. And at that time, I had my own startups. I built 2 software platforms that don't exist anymore. But one was an events platform for the Jewish community called planetjewish.com. And the other was Circle Builder Software, which was basically the church in the sky. Okay.
So
the
you
church
were doing a lot, Howard.
a ton. And that's how I roll, right? And playing basketball twice a week and, being a dad and doing community service. That's how I roll.
So when did the second bout, what happened?
So I've turned 50. That's what happened. I went in for my physical at 50. My internal medicine guy, Dr. David Rossman, says, time for your colonoscopy. I was like, okay, no problem. I didn't feel any problems with it. Now, in hindsight, I really should have been screened earlier. Okay. The screening age for them was 50, where insurance covers it. It's now 45. It should be 40. Young people like crazy. It's the number 1 killer for men under 50 and the number 2 for women outside of breast cancer. And you know what? At a 25% higher rate, it affects the disparity in minority communities, especially African American, Indian, and Hispanics. Go get screened. Go get your colonoscopy. Okay. We didn't do that during the pandemics, right? Go see your lady doctor. Go get your mammogram. Go get your prostate checked. If you're not healthy, you can't shine brightly, as I say in my book, and lift yourself up and help others. So unfortunately, cancer 2 struck. And I had stage 3 colon cancer. I had an 8.5 centimeter tumor in my intestine. And I
didn't have any symptoms?
I had irritable bowel syndrome, and I kind of ignored it because that's what we guys do. We ignore it.
Okay.
I ignored it. Just like African American families, they don't talk about Auntie died, but we don't know what she died of because no one talked about it. And so I started, and this is the digital world. Okay. So that's changed. So I actually was able to become and share my story on Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay. While being a soccer dad. Okay. And really get prayers to come in from all over the world. I have big networks. Okay, in a lot of different spaces, from Babson College, the cancer communities, Jewish community, Christian communities. I had a lot of prayer coming my way, but I was getting sicker. The first round of chemotherapy, blasphemy, didn't work. Gave me chemo-induced neuropathy. Had another surgery. So the first surgery, they took out 13 inches of my colon and margin. The second, they did 10 more inches out. Okay, and then a year later, in July, at a soccer championship in Dallas, Texas, I heard the words, you have stage 4 metastatic cancer. Your colon cancer spread to my liver, my stomach lining, and my bladder. And I was told that my lifespan was going to be shortened between 6 and 12 months because that's what the numbers say. Now, you don't always believe in the numbers. So that was a stunning time because, again, I'm told to get my affairs in order. I'm walking, as I say in my book, in darkness. I call it all the yucky stuff darkness, and you need to walk there, but you can't stay there. The people that stay there, they get in trouble. Okay, you drink too much, you take drugs, you have anger problems. Okay, you stay in that darkness area. You don't want to stay there. You need to go there, learn from it, okay, and then pull yourself up by the light and kindness of others, so that you can shine brightly. And then you can actually then return your light. But I had to learn some lessons. I had to learn how to accept help. We're macho guys. We don't want help. We want to do it all on our own, right? And we isolate. Those are all the wrong decisions. You need to accept help, build a team around you, be a smart patient, be collaborative, okay? And not every day is going to be a good day. And you stay in bed or you stay inside like we did today. Many days like that.
So that's
But
where relationships come in, relationships with others, but also the relationship with yourself.
right. So I was an Army veteran, but I was married with a child at age 15, a freshman. And I was like, I got to put out something there and I'm going to put a date on it. Her graduation date, I said, I have to live to see her graduate high school. That was my big goal, besides getting back on the basketball court, because that's my happy place. And I want to tell you, you have to have a happy place. If you don't, go get one. Mine is the basketball court, a stress-free zone. I go there and it's like a whole nother universe. But yours could be cooking, it could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be hiking, it could be the water, it could be mountains. I don't care. Go there. And I don't take my cell phone and leave it in the car. And I go there, and that's where I find my happiness. And I find happiness hiking, and I find happiness other places. But I picked up my place, and I needed to get back in the basketball court, and I was a long way from that. So I ended up joining some advocacy communities to get smart and interact with other folks that were 5 or 10 steps ahead of me in this game. And I got mentors. Okay. And I have a chapter in my book called Mentorship is the Lost Art of Leadership. And becoming a mentee, succumbing to that someone that's a little smarter and sees your blind spots. And it was beautiful because they helped me get through, okay, and told me what was ahead. But I had to go walk those steps myself.
So let me ask a question right quick. The mentors that you had, were they men, mostly men, and had they gone through cancer journeys themselves?
So I still have a lot of mentors and I mentor a lot of people. But in this case for cancer, both men and women.
Okay.
There happened to be one gentleman in the Netherlands and one woman in Philadelphia were my main go-tos. But I was willing to listen to anybody that could give me a step forward. I opened myself up for them to tell me and guide me, okay, of what worked for them, but had to walk my own steps to experience myself. And I went through a massive surgery in March of 2018. It's called cytoreduction surgery, I'm even messing it up, but it's basically hot chemo in my abdomen and my stomach. So they took out all the cancer they could see, but there's microscopic cancer that they don't see. So they put hot chemo, sealed me up, and rotated me like a rotisserie chicken. 13 and a half hour surgery and a long recovery. I was in the hospital for 10 days.
Hot chemo.
Hot chemo. Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yep. So, hyperinterperitoneal cancer. It's hot chemo at 104 degrees. It's FDA approved. It's been out there. It's saved lives.
So is that from, a regular mainstream hospital or?
Oh, no. Those are done at major NCI cancer centers. This is at the big boy centers and big girl centers like Sloan Kettering or Dana-Farber or MD Anderson. Cleveland Clinic maybe does them. But now it's very more widespread than when I was doing it in 18.
Okay.
I interviewed 5 surgeon oncologists, and they all accepted me because my cancer burden was in the range that they would operate. I chose the person with the most surgical experience, but the least high-tech experience because he was 5 miles from my house.
Okay.
And I was number 41. He's now done 400 surgeries. Now, he hasn't saved everybody, but he saved me. Oh. I then got home and I had to put Humpty Dumpty back together a second time, version 2.0. Again, 136 pounds and bald. I had to do the same thing emotionally, physically, financially, and in relationships with my wife, with my daughter, with my friends, and myself. I had to put in the work. You got to put in the work, and I did. And so at this time, I was on disability, and the pandemic's coming soon. It came in 20, right? February, March 20. All right. Well, I was doing maintenance chemo until the fall. and I was doing scans every quarter, right? But I was getting stronger. I knew what to do. I had my blueprint from before. I used the same blueprint. It didn't change, but I was different. I was older. I was
Okay.
50. I wasn't 23.
Okay.
Okay. So I still had a balance more to myself. I
Okay.
had a daughter to dedicate time to. All right. I was, as I learned a little bit more about empathy. I learned a lot more about being authentic to myself and to others. I learned a lot more about being intentional in making my choices of what I'm going to do and not do. So I have to tell you a funny story is that one of my dear friends that was the religion editor for the Detroit Free Press and now runs a publishing house, he took me out to breakfast to say goodbye to me because he had heard I had stage 4 cancer, and he knows that anyone with stage 4 metastatic cancer dies. And I thought I was going to have like a half-hour breakfast with him. I had a 2-hour breakfast. He goes, let's do a book. Let's put a legacy together for you, for your daughter. And I said, no, I'm not. That's not on my bucket list. Not interested. I'm not going to write a book. He says, go ask your wife and daughter. Call me tomorrow. I came home and my wife and daughter laughed at me. They said, Dad, you're not a writer. You're a speaker. I slept on it. And I woke up the next day and I called David Crum and I said, David, I will not write a book with you. And he goes, oh, I'm really disappointed. I go, I will speak a book with you. If you record me, now this is the pandemic, right? Right before that.
Yeah.
If you record me on Zoom and let me interview the most influential people in my life, family, business, high school, okay, I'll write a book with you. That we didn't have a manuscript. We had to create one. So he
Okay.
says, the phone goes silent and he said, Howard, we've never done that. Remember, Zoom was very new, very, very new. And he said, I'll call you back. He called me back. He said, we'll do it. But let's be dedicated. At 2 hours every Wednesday, we're going to get a book done in a year. Well, 3 years later, with a lot of work, a lot of editing, okay, from my wife and from David, I got a book called Shining Brightly that is my memoir, okay, that is relatable to any person, any family, because I share my experience that I had in these Zoom rooms, and I ask you how you relate to it. And so I've got Shining Brightly, the book right here. I'm a best-selling published author as of September 27, 2023. There you go. Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Jan. Beautiful. And you can just read a different chapter in the book and put it down. You don't have to read it sequentially. But if you want to know how I grew up from my bubby Bertha that came from Russia, okay, all the way to the last chapter, which is actually about the 4 most important letters called HOPE, hope, you can do that. There's a chapter on basketball, but it's not really about basketball. There's a chapter about interfaith relations and knowing other people that don't look like you, eat like you, grew up like you, and to be open and welcoming to the stranger, which we need to work on in this society nowadays. Okay. And so there are 3 cancer chapters. The first cancer took 2 chapters. The other chapter took 1, the colon cancer. My daughter wrote a chapter. I had a storybook wedding at overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and Silicon Valley has a chapter. I mean, this is an interesting book.
Okay.
Okay. And it's inspiring. And at the end of every chapter, I give homework. I ask you to take action. Now, that's up to you if you want to do it. But I ask you to check out a website or how that makes you feel. Okay. Or to check out one of my discussion guides on survivorship, on mentorship, or on interfaith relations. And then contact me and I can help move the conversation further. Okay. From your book club or your church club and things like that. So here's my realization. I said, oh my God, books don't sell themselves. So I had to get on the road and start speaking, just like you. I go in and I'm a motivational speaker. I have a story to tell. You know what? I got lots of stories from my life in that book that can really help people get further, to motivate, educate, and inspire them to take that next step, whatever they're doing. Okay. And I am a life coach, but not certified. I lived it. I learned a lot through cancer. I learned a lot through interfaith. I learned a lot through entrepreneurship. I learned a lot through mentorship. I learned a lot through family. And
So,
so
Howard,
yeah.
where are you now? Because you said,
Okay.
yeah, Right. Where are you now?
Okay. So let's roll the clock forward to September of uh, uh, this year, 2024. I celebrated my 5th year cancer free, okay, from colon cancer. 5 years cancer free is a big milestone. All right. I was so thrilled because I was still wanting to walk my daughter down the aisle. That goal is
Yeah.
never checked. I still was on the basketball court. So I'll take you to October 23rd or something, I think, or 21st. I played basketball for 2 hours. The next day, I hiked 5 miles. That's a Monday. On a Tuesday, I went to the gym and I noticed a bruise on my arm, and it wasn't from basketball. I know which ones are from basketball. This was something that popped up overnight. I took a picture of it and I sent it to my oncologist, and he said, come right in. I came right in and they took my blood twice, and I had no immune system. None. No white cells are critically low, red cells critically low, platelets critically low. They go, how did you drive here? How are you standing up? I go, I feel fine. He said, you have pancytopenia, which is basically all three are down. Something's a matter. The next day, he goes, come into the infusion room. We're going to load you up on B12. You have an autoimmune problem. Well, that wasn't it. The next day, he makes an appointment for me to have what's called a bone marrow biopsy, where they actually take a piece of bone and a piece of your marrow, and it hurts for 10 minutes. And I had that test done, and I waited for the results, and he told them to get them to me quickly. So because of my patient record online, I learned before he got to call me that night, I have just, on October 25th, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, not a good type of leukemia. So this is the story. Originally, they told me that my sister's bone marrow, which had lasted for 35 years and should be, I'm told by doctors in the Guinness Book of World Record, that's some damn good bone marrow, right? I have two types. I am a unicorn. I have my bone marrow and her bone marrow. So they told me her bone marrow stopped. That wasn't true. Not true at all. What happened was, and this is put by a senior vice president at one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies, who's my doctor. He said to me, Howard, you're a car with 500,000 miles and your engine seized up. Your engine seized up. It turned out my old cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, after 35 years, turned itself into leukemia. And I literally, on October 27th, was admitted to the hospital for chemotherapy. They tried third time, okay? Third time, okay? And they tried chemotherapy and it didn't work. It didn't work. My cancer burden grew. So you know what you do? You stop that, you throw that in the trash barrel, and you look for plan B. We call this looking for many planes on the runway. I know lots of planes have had issues lately, but in the cancer world, you have to have plans B, C, D, E, and F if you can. And sometimes you have limited options, and I have limited options. So then it's a day before Thanksgiving, and I'm going to do a whole new chemotherapy called FLAG, and it's Thanksgiving. My daughter's flying in from Missoula, Montana, where she's a TV reporter and 23 years old and doing well. And my parents are flying in from Boston. So I asked for the grace of my docs to say, waiting a few more days, please. So they did. They gave me Thanksgiving. And on that Sunday after Thanksgiving, I got admitted to the hospital. This Thanksgiving after that, I did 5 days of rock'em sock'em chemo to eliminate my immune system. And I did everything but stem cells. And they waited 34 days for my immune system to come back, and 38 blood transfusions, blood and platelets, in chemo isolation. I was alone from 6 at night when my sister would leave, to the doctors and nurses and the blood people would come in from 6 to 8, and then my sister would come back home at 12. Now, thank God they were allowed to bring in outside food, like a good corned beef sandwich and other stuff. But I was there alone most of the time, and I ended up getting weak. When you spend that much time in the hospital, and I ended up having a really bad rash from an antibiotic. I turned into Barney the purple dinosaur, and I slowed me up. So I came home after that, after they let me go and discharge me, very weak. Like I needed help getting up 16 stairs. And so I went for my next checkup, Okay, so if you have no white cells, how can they give you chemo? Right. So you're right. I had no, I had, this is Sandy. Thank you for that great question. I'll read it. So if you had no white cells, how can they give you chemo? Did they take your own platelets, but you had none? So I had red cells carry oxygen, so they can give you those. And again, I typically would get O positive. You get what your blood type is, right? But with platelets, you can get anybody's. And so my white cells, called neutrophils, I had some of them, but a real minimum amount of them. But I couldn't fight infection on my own. So they give you IV antibiotics, pills called antifungals, antiviral, and antibacterials because I couldn't protect myself. That's such an excellent question, Sandy. So thank you. And it's brutal. It's really hard, really, really hard. But I made it through again. I got home and I went to get my checkup for my blood counts. I do it once a week. And my doctor, I walked in there and my sister wheeled me in a wheelchair because I was so weak. He asked my sister to leave the room. He looked at me and he said, I've played basketball with you. He goes, you don't ever wheel your wheelchair in here again. He goes, you get home and you get on boot camp and you build your stamina, eat your calories, and start working out. Because if we're going to do a stem cell transplant to save your life, you got to be back in shape.
So is that what's happening to you now? Are you getting stem cells now?
No, not yet. Okay. So, so this is a ping pong ball of the life of cancer. Okay. Last Thursday, I had everything was good. But that Tuesday, I wasn't feeling so good. I went in and I needed a transfusion, but I had another bone marrow biopsy. So I had one when I left the hospital after 34 days, December 31st. And I showed zero cancer burden. That flag protocol did what it did. Amen, right? But it only lasted for 8 weeks. I did another bone marrow biopsy last Friday, and it revealed that the cancer came back. So with the cancer coming back, this is a very difficult life of a cancer patient, and it's a very expensive life too. Without good insurance, you can't get this type of surgery, and many people don't have this type of surgery. And thank God I'm on disability and have the plan, because it's very expensive to stay 34 days in a hospital and to get the chemotherapies that cost $10,000 a bag. So I ended up now looking for plans B, C, D, and E. And I'm told I got to fly to Houston to go to MD Anderson to talk to them, fly to Dana-Farber, go see someone at University of Michigan. But the Karmanos Cancer Institute that said that I was now not eligible for a stem cell transplant has reconsidered.
Oh.
I have to find out why, because the chances when you have cancer burden make the transplant potentially less successful. Okay, potentially. And this time around, I don't have my sister. I have to go out into the donor database. Now, remember I said it was a 1 in 25,000 chance?
Yeah.
It's not that today. The database, the bone marrow database where you swab your cheek is now filled with millions of people that want to save a life. Giftoflife.org, it's bethematch.org are the US ones, but all over the world. There's countries in Europe that hand out the kits, the swab kits in high schools. Younger bone marrow. My sister was 24. You want young bone marrow. If you're going to get bone marrow, you want young bone marrow and you want a match. Well, they found a match for me overseas. Now they have to get that young man's permission.
Okay.
And he has to do it pretty quickly. Okay. And the way they do the bone marrow is way different than my sister. It's not an operation. They give you an injection to get your bone marrow supercharged, and they take it out like platelets. You hold your arms up, and they take it out. They take the stems out, and they put all the platelets and everything back in. And so it's way different. It's not a surgery for them. For me, it's chemo isolation for 28 to 35 days where they knock me down, but this time they put in a bag of life. And they watch me grow, and they watch for graft versus host disease because some really tough stuff can happen. The body can reject it, right? Like putting in a kidney or a heart. I mean, it doesn't have to accept it. And then I got to go put Humpty Dumpty version 3 back together again, all over again. So it's crazy. So
But you know, I just admire you. I don't know many people that would be able to go through what you have been going through and still, have that resilience. A lot of people just, they give up.
sure. Yeah.
Where did that come from? Where does that come from?
That's resilience. And
Or
it's a muscle.
where is it
I'm going to
coming
tell you
from?
where it comes from. It comes from being a point guard on the basketball court and being a competitive person. I don't want to lose. I am not going to lose. And I am taking in healing prayer, love energy. I got a huge network out there that is praying for me. And you know what? I got some unfinished business in this world. And I got to walk my daughter down the aisle at the right time. That
All
has not
right.
changed. That has not changed. I am mentally tough. I am physically fit. Okay. I have a GoFundMe to help me out, and people are pouring money into it. But you know what? When people ask you, can I help you? I don't want you to say you got this, because I know I got this. I got cancer again. I ask them, I have an answer. If you'd like to help me out in your GoFundMe and you can, please do. That helps me because
So what is
I
your GoFundMe? What is it? So I
you
can.
just search Howard Brown. Go at GoFundMe.com and search Howard Brown. You'll find me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
says third time Howard Brown, third time cancer. Leukemia, acute myeloblast leukemia, and you'll see a picture, a big mosaic of me and my family uh, in healthy times and in cancer times. And you click on the button and you can give, and we can put the links in the out there if we want to. But here, I also tell them you can send me a healing prayer. You can send me loving hug. Okay. But you can also donate blood. You can swab your cheek. You can hug your family, because you never know when something bad's going to take you into darkness. And please go do a random act of kindness, because
Yes.
that allows you to shine brightly, and allows me to shine brightly, because you have to be able to lift up yourself and be in good health, emotionally, physically, financially, in relationship, to be able to shine brightly and go help others. And that's what I am all about. And I want to just tell you that how I do this, my morning mantra. I look so healthy and great attitude. Well, you know what? I didn't look so healthy getting out of the hospital, but 3 weeks ago I looked emaciated. But now I've worked at it. And thank you for that, Sandy. Amen. Healthy, great attitude. It is because of God and energy and positive attitude. All of it. It's all of it. It's not just one thing. Okay. So in my book, when I was 5 years old, I'm walking with my great grandmother, Bertha Budish, who came from Russia to this country when she was 16 years old, but had to stay in Europe for a couple of years and then came over by herself. And she met up our family. She teaches us, okay, she taught us basically lifelong lessons. And the first thing she said, when you get up, you choose kindness. This is in chapter 1 of my book. So get my book. And she said, and there's Jewish words for that. That's called chesed. Choose giving. That's tzedakah. That's the justice of giving to help others in need. Then there's tikkun olam, which is healing. Okay? Heal this broken world and heal your broken self. All right? Then choose gratitude and choose joy. And she said, choose not to hate. And I say that every day, and I say I am blessed, I am lucky, and I am grateful.
You're
And I
blessed and
am.
highly favored.
I
I
am.
just want to say this. I received a text so I want to read this to you, from Vanessa Glover. And she says, may God continue to bless Howard. He will walk his daughter down the aisle.
Vanessa, thank you. I take it into my heart. That is a beautiful healing prayer, and I love it. I love it. Thank you. Beautiful. Just beautiful.
And so now Sandy wants to know how to get your book.
So you can get my book by contacting me, going to shiningbrightly.com, or just search me on Amazon. And there is a Kindle version, there is a paperback version, and there's a hard copy version. And if Sandy actually reaches out to me on shiningbrightly.com or howard@shiningbrightly.com, my email, I will send her a signed book plate and some special gifts.
Okay.
And you can download for free, okay, these beautiful discussion guides on survivorship, on interfaith, knowing the other, and on mentorship. Oh, it's not coming. And on mentorship. So those are all off my website. Click them. You get the PDFs. They send them all to you. And I thank
And
you.
for people who are Audible only, I just want them to know that it's www.shiningbrightly.com.
Right.
That's
And so,
www.shiningbrightly.com, because some of it's audio, some people
yeah,
are not
just listening. They just listen. And I know. But here's the problem with that. And I want to address that.
okay.
I need to also get healthy because I've been offered so many times for people to put my book out in audio, but I have to read my stories. So
Okay.
I need to get healthy. So, because I was all set up to do so in a studio to get my Audible book out this fall. And what happened this fall? I got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia.
But
I
you
had to
will get your audio.
I had to put that on hold. So this summer, I need to get back and I need to get back to that. And it will be a priority because that's the number one question. Can I listen to you? Now, how you can listen to me is that I have a top podcast called The Shining Brightly Show, where I interview people that have walked in darkness. I want to know what they've learned. We don't talk about the darkness too much. I want to know what they learned and how they've shined brightly for others. And I recorded 112 shows with 330,000 downloads and listeners every week. And that podcast, I had to put on hiatus. I had to make the decision, okay, on January 1st, I put it on hiatus. I have to be focused on my health. And I will pick that back up too, okay? But so those episodes are all available on Apple, on Spotify, on Pandora, on Podbean, anything. So if you go to shining-brightly.captivate.fm, you get every single one.
Hold on. Let me put it in here right quick.
Okay. Yeah. It's
shining-brightly
.captivate. The word captivate.
.captivate.
That's my host, .fm.
Okay, wait. Captivate.
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 Okay. Shining-brightly .captivate.
.fm.
.fm.
And that's my library of 112 shows that are still getting downloaded today. And there's a show 109 is my daughter. Oh, Donna, you just hit the nail on the head. Yes, random acts of kindness are therapy. But you know what? They make the world a better place. They do. They really do. Okay, I have a few friends going through chemo and we read a book. Oh my God, I will sign every one of those books. Just let me know where to mail the book plate stickers and I'll send some gifts. Please contact me.
So Howard, we only got 2 minutes.
I know. I can see the clock.
But thank you so much. You have been an inspiration, and I just want people to see. I wanted people to see who you are and your resilience, your perseverance, your faith. And the importance of friends, family, doctors, and relationships, and your relationship with yourself. I think it's just wonderful. I think I don't even know what to say.
Can I give a concluding remark? Just one more.
Please do.
All right. I'm going to shine brightly back to you, Dr. Jan, because I told you that I wasn't sure if you wanted to have me on in this state. And you said, no, Howard, you're coming on. And I just want to express gratitude to you for being your guest, because I appreciate this in sharing me with your audience. And so if you choose to shine brightly just a little bit each day, okay, for yourself first, and then lift up others, okay? Our neighborhoods, our families, our communities, the world will become a force multiplier for good and positive change, okay, in this world. And I know it, and it's a movement, and I join with other movements like yours, and we do, okay? And I appreciate that very much of being a guest on your show, because this allows me a stage to communicate what I am feeling. And I welcome everybody in to my movement, and I accept movement back to others, just like yours. And thank you for having me. I am really, really grateful.
Thank you so much, Howard. And just for people who are listening and not viewing, you put on some sunglasses.
Yes, I did. White metallic sunglasses. That's my trademark. I am Mr. Shining Brightly.
Mr. Shiny Bright. Thank you so much, Howard. I really appreciate you coming. And you know what? You get back to me because I really want to know your journey. And I really want to listen to your book. And I really want to see pictures from your daughter's wedding. How's that?
Okay. Well, that might be a few years down the road, but
What? Well,
we'll get there. We
well,
plan to get there. I get
we
it. So I will. I'm about to, potentially going into chemo isolation, but I still have my phone and I still have my computer, but I'm going to be less online. But I'll shoot you a message.
I
I'll shoot
appreciate
you a
it.
message. I
Thank you.
will.
Thank you so much. You have a beautiful, blessed rest of your evening.
God bless. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Oh, wow. This has been so inspirational and so motivational for people who are going through cancer. Just to know it's a lot, it's physical, but it also has a lot to do with up here, your mind. And just know that if you have faith in God, or whoever you think it is, your higher power, however you say it, you know what? Faith, that'll do it. Faith and perseverance and resilience. So I want to thank all of you who were able to view, and please tell your friends. It's going to be on YouTube and on Roku and a lot of different other channels. And just make sure if you have friends, family, colleagues that are really going through this cancer journey or any journey that they feel is really difficult, tell them to definitely watch this episode. So this is Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV, and thank all of you all again for tuning in, for watching the show. And I want you to remember there are all kinds of relationships and all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. So I'm trying to get to my calendar, and next week is the Valentine's Day show. So be sure and tune in. So I'll see you again next week. Have a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.